All right, welcome back everyone. We are here for the first video of the new year, continuing our exploration around self-care and how to manage pain and other factors that all form part of dealing with hip and knee arthritis. And today, to join us on this journey is Margot Cohen.
Hello, Axel. How are you?
Well, I'm okay, all things considered. As you know, as we were saying before this, it's almost a strange question these days, but
Absolutely.
it's it's a good day, all things considered. And thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, listen, it's an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for the invite.
No. It's really grand to have you with us. You know, I'll be flagging this as we go, and we'll make sure there's links beneath this video. But I would really direct anyone watching this to your channel, Margot, where there's a number of really great exercise videos, both on various specific sessions for different parts of the body, and certainly we'll be exploring a bit more and sort of giving more of a taster of what viewers might find on your YouTube channel here today.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I started the channel, basically, I had a private practice, which I've recently just given up, but I found lots of people just want to watch videos and they would want to record me or I would record them doing their exercise sessions. So the earlier ones are really sort of bespoke to certain specific exercises. And then during lockdown, I realised that access to healthcare was slightly limited, certainly initially. So I then changed the format of it really. So on there, you'll actually find sort of exercise videos that take you gradually through sort of exercise sessions, maybe lasting 10 minutes long. Certainly there's ones for knees, neck, so there's quite a lot of varied variety in there.
Okay, yeah, excellent. So we'll make sure those links are below this video. And well, is there anything you want to add about sort of your background and sort of what you're bringing to this virtual table, so to speak?
Yeah, so I've been a physiotherapist for over 30 years, and the last sort of 12 years I've spent working in Glasgow, back where I was born and bred, and I have been working as an extended scope practitioner. So I've spent a lot of my time seeing people really from the early stages of joint pain and arthritis right through to the more end stages where you would come into hospital and I would sort of work you up and potentially list you for knee or hip replacements. So I've got a lot of experience in all sort of different levels of these conditions. And then more recently, I gained a promotion to be an MSK physiotherapy consultant. So I hope to carry on with that vein as I progress through the last 10 years of my career.
Oh, congratulations, Margot. That's good stuff. So and before we sort of hand the screen over to you entirely and you go to take us through some exercises, sort of what are sort of some of the key points around this that might be good to raise in terms of how to get the most out of exercise and the role of exercise in managing pain and finding that balance between exercise as a means of managing and hopefully reducing pain with time, but balancing that against the fact that it may hurt a bit to do the exercise, and it's something that we've come back to quite a few times, where I'm finding that balance, learning to listen to your body, but also pushing against things a little bit to grow and improve.
Yeah, so I think I like to talk to my patients about exercise in sort of two forms. So the first of all is your general exercise component. Now, I mean, there's virtually nothing that exercise doesn't help. You must have been living under a rock if you haven't heard that exercise is good for everything from your joints, your muscles, your brain, your sleep pattern, your mental health, chronic, conditions. So we know the benefits of general exercise. So it's really important that we try and make sure that we are integrating that consistently into our life. And whatever your health constraints are, there's generally always something that you can find to do to keep your general health up. It might take a bit of exploring and you might need to go and seek some professional help to try and find out a way to do that. But generally there is a way. Obviously during lockdown, those constraints are slightly more, unfortunately. So the fact that gyms are not open, the fact that swimming pools are not open has certainly limited things down a bit. So you just have to be really more inventive, I think. So I think that's the general exercise component. And I think it's important as well is that there is a lot of research to say that general exercise sort of can reduce your pain. You know, it can help desensitize things. So I think that's really important to sort of recognize for people. We then go on to your more specific problems and exercising your specific problems. So, you know, for the purpose of this video, if we're talking about someone that has knee or hip osteoarthritis, there are definite benefits to exercising that specific joint as well. And I like to frame it that you're trying to keep it working as well as it can. Okay, so you know there are varying stages from early stages right through to the end stages. So you're looking at keeping it flexible, you're looking at keeping it strong and functional. Now we know by doing that, that will help allow you to live the best life that you can. And also what it will do is it will hopefully aid to control your symptoms. But that varies from certain people. So some people can only do a small amount with their joint itself to keep it moving, and then they want to implement other types of exercise for their general health. So I think that's something to really sort of remember.
Margot, I think that's a fantastic overview, and you've raised some really key points in terms of the role of exercise and keeping active, and that's not only for our physical health, but also for our mental health, which I think it would probably be a good topic for a separate session altogether. But in terms of physical health, and then perhaps more specifically with the hips and knees, what are the things that you as a physiotherapist would be trying to help people to achieve by getting into a habit of regular exercise and activity? What are you sort of looking to get out of the exercises, so to speak?
Sure. So it's always difficult when you do have a chronic illness or you have a long-standing pain, which is often quite variable. So, you know, you can't always set these absolute structured goals all the time. And we like to think of it as sort of like the Goldilocks principle, where basically you have to get it just right. And the frustration comes when that varies quite often. So you can have a period of 6 weeks where you actually feel really good, you achieve lots, and then you have a flare of pain for a few weeks and you don't always know the reason for it. And that's incredibly frustrating for people, and I totally understand that. I think you have to be quite flexible with your regime and make sure that if you are having a flare that you still consistently do something, but you're not constantly trying to push yourself to be achieving more and more all the time. But yeah, it's not an easy thing to psychologically get your head around or physically trying to work it out. So I think be flexible. You always want to find the point where you're pushing yourself a little bit. You know, our body is really good at adapting. And again, studies have shown that you know, even running appears to be good for your knees now, you know, and they've taken people with quite advanced arthritis, put them on bikes, and they've noticed quite significant improvements. So we know that exercise does work. So we want to make sure that we're pushing our bodies just that little bit where we get the benefit from doing that, but we don't flare ourselves up to the point where we can't then exercise.
Yeah, and of course, and I guess that's the important point. And as ever, you know, I've wave the odd safety flag here and again, and I think that is something. I guess with so much when it comes to healthcare, it's very much a personal sense of where you go from that Goldilocks balance to doing too much. But I think perhaps you hit on something quite well there. If things are swelling up and getting uncomfortable to the point where it's stopping you from doing other activity, or you know, that perhaps could be one sign.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, with all of these things as we're discussing today, you know, these are all just guidelines, and guidelines are there to help the majority of people, but there will be some people that these guidelines don't really fit. And if they don't fit, then that's really worthwhile going and seeking some, you know, medical or healthcare professional advice regarding that.
Yeah.
But also, I think, do things you enjoy. You know, people that say, for example, you're having a really bad week and you're very sore, or you're just fed up, as you know, lockdown seems to have exaggerated mood swings quite a bit. You know, put on your favorite music and just dance. You know, even in a chair, just dance. You know, do something so you're moving, but also it might lift your spirits. And that's really useful. So it shouldn't be a huge, arduous task that you do. So it's a case of sort of working on that, but trying to do something consistently, I think, is the key, and to be flexible in how your body reacts at certain times.
Yeah, and trying to make it fun. I think that's really really important, because it's the only way, we're going to keep coming back to it and make it a part of our daily routine.
Absolutely. So if you can get benefits physically and emotionally, and you can make it fun, I mean, hey, a perfect combination.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's a great note to move into a set of exercises. And so I guess what I'll do, I'll hand the screen over to you, so to speak, and I'll be here in the background following along as best as I can, and then we can kind of catch up a little bit afterwards. And I may call out the odd question, I may not, but just to see, occasionally it can be good to highlight the odd variation, or perhaps if one is having troubles on both sides, there might be some variations needed and so on. But over to you, Margot.
Great, thank you. So I thought we'd start off by doing some exercises in sitting, and then we'll move on to some exercises in standing. So I'm just going to move my chair back so you can see this.
Now, sitting's a really good position for people that perhaps have balance problems, or a bit unsteady in their feet. The higher the chair, the easier it is. You might also want to use some arms on the chair, which may help with some of the more difficult exercises. Now, we're going to use the floor a little bit. So if you have a shiny surface, you will want a sock to use. If you're on a carpet, you might want a small plastic bag to put on your foot, so it will slide up and down. Okay. I also have a step here, which is going to mimic the bottom step. So if you have stairs in the house, you may want to go off and practice these at a later date. So I'm just going to pop the sock on. So I think, first of all, it's quite nice to start off by doing some spinal movement. You often find, even if you've got just one joint that's sore, you will often find that actually you compromise the rest of your body, and it generally doesn't move as much as it may have done otherwise. So we're just going to start off by just doing some flexing and extending. Okay, you'll probably feel that in your spine, but with this, there's some nice movement in your pelvis and also in your spine. So you're just going to sort of slump down and then come and stand up or sit up nice and straight. And again, with all of these, you're looking at lengthening yourself throughout all of this. We spend a lot of time when we're sore and stiff in these sort of flex positions. So this is all about trying to extend yourself upwards. The next one, which is quite nice, is just taking yourself over to the side. So again, you can stretch up to the ceiling if you can, and come over to the side. Again, all of these things you want to vary. So if you've got restriction in your shoulders, you may just want to take your hands here, and you can flex over to the side, and again off to the other side. Always quite nice to do a wee bit of deep breathing also through this. So I would come down, and you can take a nice big deep breath there, and then breathe out as you come up. We can also do some rotation here. So again, just getting some nice movement into your upper body. Perfect. So then we're going to move on to just sort of moving this leg a little bit, just a bit like a warm up. So I'm going to use the one with the sock, because I've got a shiny surface here. And all we're going to do is we're just going to start flexing and extending that backwards and forwards. And you might find you're limited to these ranges here, but if you can, you want to try and just go a wee bit further as you consistently do these. Now with this, what's really nice and important is that you're trying to get this knee straight. So if you've got problems around your knee, you lose that extension, but keeping it as straight as possible takes some of the pressure off it. So wherever you can get to, hopefully you can get into this extended position. Really think about squeezing your quads as you straighten that knee. Okay, now to make that a wee bit harder, you can also push your foot down into the ground. So as you push your foot down into the ground, as though you were going through mud, you'll feel your muscles working a wee bit harder. So this is a bit of a stretch, but also it's a wee bit of strengthening at the same time, which is quite nice. So once you feel you've warmed that up quite a bit, what you can do is you can do sort of more of a stretch here. So again, you would just bring your toes up towards you, push this knee down into the bed. If you can sit up nice and straight, you'll really feel that right up into your hamstring, up into your buttocks. Again, I'll just show you those two exercises from the side. You would obviously repeat this on the other side as well. So from here, you're just going to extend your foot out, and you can take it back behind you if you can. And as I said, try and extend that knee as much as you possibly can in these positions here. And again, that big stretch, try and be up nice and straight, straighten that knee, toes up towards you so you feel that stretch at the back of your knee there. Great. Then moving on, we could do some squeezing of our buttocks. So again, our glutes often don't get a chance to work very much. Imagine you're on a horse, you're just going to squeeze them. You can also do things like walking forward, walking back. You can think about hitching your hips again, just getting some lovely movement, and you'll feel your abdominals work relatively hard doing that. Great. So the next one we'll look at doing is stretching the front of our thigh here. Now this is a wee bit trickier than sitting, but not impossible. So if you're getting quite tight across the front of your thigh, what you can do is you can try and take that leg back behind you. Okay, so you need to be able to come off the edge of a chair there. And what you do here is you're just going to tilt your pelvis underneath and just sort of push forward. And that will give you a lovely nice quad stretch in that position. And again, you would want to turn round and do the same on the other side. Great. We're going to now look at working our calves a little bit. So when we're walking, if we've got problems with our hip or our knees or both, we tend to have slightly shorter strides. And what we find tends to happen is that our calves don't get a good workout. So this is a really lovely way of making our calves work a bit harder, and also getting a bit of movement in at the back of your knee there. So you're going to try and come up onto your toes as high as you can, squeeze your calves, and then down you come. Again, back up onto your toes and then come down. Great. Perfect. So the next one we would look at doing is just some knee flexing and extending. So this is when we're starting to really sort of work our quads, and if we come down slowly enough, we also start to work our hamstrings a little bit. So often people really struggle to get that last little bit of extension there. So again, coming up, they really struggle to get that little bit there. Great. Now, what you can do with this is you can actually help it with the other foot. So if you're struggling to get to that end wee bit, what you actually can do is use your other foot underneath to hold on to it, and then you can maybe like that, go and try and hold it there if you can. Or again, just ease it a little bit. So again, find ways of helping you to achieve the exercise, and hopefully as you get better at it, you need a bit less help with that. So the final one we're going to do in sitting is squatting. Now squatting is great because it works lots of different muscle groups at the same time, and it's also incredibly functional. You know, it's something we do an awful lot of. Okay, so from here, what we're going to do is we're just going to come up, and then we're slowly going to sit down. Now I think the thing about this is try not to collapse into it. Try and have the confidence to come up nice and extended out of the chair. If you need to, you can also use some support. So if I show you that from the side, what you would do is you could also have a sort of work surface in front of you, so you really feel you're getting a chance to come up and down, up and down. And with that you can vary it, so you can do little short squats just here, or you could do little squats just from standing. So huge amounts of variation there. You can also put a bit more weight on one leg rather than the other. So if you have one that's very sore in particular, you can put a bit more weight on the other one. So again, there's real ways of being able to exercise even with a certain amount of limitations. Now the last thing I do want to talk about in sitting, which I've got earlier, was to look at a wee bit of rotation. So we tend to sort of exercise in straight lines, but our body really works in lots of different planes all the time. So I found it quite useful for some patients to do a wee bit of rotation, okay? So rotation of our knee looks a bit like this. So they would support underneath their thigh, and they're just going to rotate up and down. I'll show you that from the side. So again, you see my foot turning there. So my thigh's not turning, it's really, you see my foot turn, but it's really my lower leg that's turning. So just try that and see if you find that useful. The other one is a wee bit of sort of hip rotation. Again, you lose a lot of that when you have a degree of arthritis in it. So a way to try and maintain it is to just try and walk your feet out. So again, I'm keeping my thighs fairly still, and I'm just going to walk my feet out and then back again. If we want a wee bit of rotation that way, can you see that? So you can do a wee combination of the two. So you come out and then you're going to come in. So that's rotation in, and then we're going to rotate out from there. So try them, add them in, see if you find that they are helpful. So we're now going to move on to some exercises in standing. Now these can be a wee bit more challenging, certainly from a strength point of view, but what's nice about it is it actually also does start to work on your balance. Now again, if you have problems with your balance, we want you to feel safe, we don't want you to feel vulnerable when you're doing any form of exercise. So again, you may want to keep a chair here. What you can do is you can just sort of use that for a wee bit of support. It's amazing even what a little finger on a chair can do to help. Okay, so I think the first one we're going to do here is we're just going to do some nice big sort of marching activity. Again, just walking on the spot. Often you can really exaggerate things, which is quite nice, which are things that you don't tend to do outside. So that's quite a nice way to start off. Great. And then again, we're going to do a wee bit of sort of spinal movement. I thought we could maybe do sort of wee circles here. Now again, what's really nice about this is it gets to lots and lots of different parts of your hip and your side here, really. So as you come forward, you feel the stretch down into here. So again, you can sort of hang out in some of these positions. So if you want a bit more extension, you can just sort of stay there for a minute or two, and then you can come round again. Now you might find that one part of the circle feels much easier than the other side. Again, that's okay. It doesn't have to be symmetrical. Any movement is better than no movement. Great. So again, moving on to what we would do as far as stretches are concerned, we would do a hamstring stretch. So again, this leg out in front of me, I'm going to stick my bottom out, bring my toes up towards me. Again, I'm going to squeeze that quad, so I'm getting a wee bit of sort of active lengthening and stretching. And again, stick your bottom out and you'll feel that down the whole back of your leg, and it's just really a lovely, lovely stretch. And again, onto the other side. Again, stick your bottom out to there. Fantastic. Great. Now if you want to do more of a quad stretch in standing, it's a wee bit easier. So quite a nice one is a sort of mini lunge here. So what you're going to do is you're going to put one leg behind the other. You're going to tuck your bottom in underneath, and you can sort of lunge down a wee bit if you can. Again, using support if you need to, and you'll sort of feel that into the front of your thigh there. You can also add in a wee bit of a side flexion to that at the same time. So again, you're getting lengthening down this whole area. Again, holding on if you need to. So we do that on the other side. So again, thigh underneath your hip there, tuck your bottom in underneath, push forward a wee bit, and then you're going to stretch up and go over to the side. Great. Okay. So the next one we're going to look at doing is, this is where the sock comes into its own again. If you're on the carpet, you would put your plastic bag back on your leg. So this leg is your supporting leg, which is just going to stay on the ground. And this is the one that's going to sort of slide out. Now what's lovely about this is both legs are working slightly differently, but they're both having to work. So this leg, you know, is like a wee bit of a mini squat if you can. If you have to stay upright, that's okay, but try if you can squat a little bit. And then this foot with the sock on is just going to glide out to the side. Now what I like about this is, again, it gives you lots of variations that you can do. Now you can also push that foot down into the ground like we did in sitting. And as you push that foot down into the ground as though you were going through mud, you'll find that your leg has to work quite a lot harder. So in this position, you can feel your quads, your hamstrings and your glutes working on this side, but you can also feel a lot of activity happening around this hip as well. So again, you're going to come forward and back. I'll show you that from the side. You're going to come out. Again, forward, you can come onto your toe if you want, you can come back, you can do circles, you know, you can do all sorts of things really, but it is quite a nice position to exercise in. And again, you would then put your sock on the other side and have a go there. We're also going to just talk about squats and standing really, so again, you can use as much support as you want. The other option you've got is to go against a wall. So this is quite nice, you're just going to push your lower back into the wall. Now I think it's important to say that, you know, everything doesn't have to be pointing forward, and indeed you might want to take your sock off so you don't go sliding. You know, things don't have to be pointing forward. You know, our hips are different shapes, and particularly if we have arthritis in them now, so you might find that you're a wee bit comfortable with your feet out a wee bit further, or maybe sort of further in towards you, or maybe a wee bit rotated out. The important thing is that it's comfortable enough for you, and you feel you're getting a reasonable amount of movement. So again, you can use that wall for a wee bit of support, pushing your lower back down into the wall again. You get a wee bit of abdominal activity at that point. Great, and you can hang around there for as long as you want, or you can sort of keep going up and down. So the last thing is to use our step here. Again, people sort of tend to struggle with stairs quite a bit, and quite often it's just a case of having to practice them really. So this is again a great functional way of strengthening your lower limbs. So you're going to come up and down. Great, and then you're going to come up again and down, and again the slower you do it, sort of the harder it is to achieve, and then again you're going to turn around and do the same on the other side. Okay, so you're just going to come up and down. Great. Perfect, so hopefully that'll give you a few varied exercises that you can try in the comfort of your own home without much equipment. Anyway, thank you very much for watching.
Well, grand, Margot, that's a fantastic set of exercises. Thank you so much for taking us through these. And as I said at the start, of course, for those watching this who want to do a bit more, or just a variation, or want to dig into a few more specific routines or specific exercises, there's plenty to find on Margot's YouTube channel, and there'll be links to that below this video.
That's great. Listen, it's been a real pleasure coming in and demonstrating some of these for you. So thank you very much for the invite.
Oh, thank you, Margot. Thank you. And thank you everyone so much for watching. Stay safe out there, everyone. Keep up the good work, and we'll see you next week. Take care now, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.